Black feminism is a considerably new but strong movement based on the ideology that black women are unfairly prejudiced against on the basis of sexism, racism, and classism. Black feminism rose to prominence in the 1960s as the civil rights movement excluded women from leadership positions, and the mainstream feminist movement largely focused on its agenda on issues that predominantly impacted middle class white women. Despite different visions, a few foundational principles do exist among black feminisms. Black women's experience of racism, sexism, and classism are inseparable. Their needs and worldviews are distinct from those of black men and white women. There is no contradiction between the struggle against racism, sexism, and all other isms. All must be addressed simultaneously. This could also be addressed to as intersectionality. Reputable black feminist theorists include Kimberly Crenshaw, deemed a respected feminist law theorist, who coined the term intersectionality as a notion that it is possible to be discriminated against on the basis of gender and color, as well as socioeconomic backgrounds. She led to this discovery after investigating an anti discrimination suit back in the 1960s. She found that discrimination against black women cannot be categorized into separate legal terms, but have to be considered simultaneously. Patricia Hill, former president of the American Sociological Association, Hill is a foundational theorist on intersectionality. She argues that gender inequality that black women have historically experienced is related to but qualitatively different from the gender inequality experienced by white women. This is not because of essential differences between black and white women, but because white women have historically been privileged racially, whilst black women have been dominated through race and gender. Audre Lorde, a 1984 sociologist, created an alternative perspective that she called womanist, in which she encouraged followers to consider race, class, gender, disability, sexuality, and more in their social movements and critical analysis of societal issues. Catherine Harnois, a neo-feminist sociologist who researched black families with relations to incarceration rates amongst black men and how those stats affect the functions of black single-parent families. Critics of black feminism argue that divisions along the lines of race or gender weaken the strength of the overall feminist movement or anti-racist movements. Evidence that black women still experience intersectional discrimination is prevalent to this day, with statistics including black women in the US earning 62 cents in comparison to the 79 cents a white woman earns on the dollar that a white man earns. 33% of black women report discrimination whilst receiving health care, the majority being new mothers in neonatal care. With regards to single-parent families, statistics show that 75% are black, of which are 4.4 million single mothers, which relates to Harnois's theory that high incarceration rates among men aged 20 to 34 leads to families separated. This also leads to black women having a smaller dating pool. Harnois suggested reducing the rate of incarceration by releasing men arrested for victimless crimes. These rates could also be linked to systemic racism in the judicial system. Sojourner Truth once said, "If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down, then these women altogether ought to be able to turn it back. Many etymologists believe that Miss Truth was the first pioneer of the movement, tracing it back to slavery.